Hey friends, we are back in the Old Testament once again, and I am using the Jewish publication Hebrew English Tanakh, Old Testament, published in 1955. And we're continuing in our series of theophanies, which is the appearance of God in the form of a man in the Old Testament. And I'm going to be reading from a very well-known portion of Scripture. You know, most of you have seen the account of Moses receiving the Ten Commandments from God in the famous Cecil B. DeMille movie back in the late 50s, early 60s with, can't think of his name right now. He's so well known. That's what happens when you're 103 years old. But what you haven't probably seen, Charlton Heston, that's who it was, little senior moment there. But what you probably haven't seen or read about is what happened just prior to that famous event that you've all seen in that movie. So I am reading from the book of Exodus. I'm going to begin in chapter 24. I'm going to start with verse 1, and I'll read a few verses and then skip down a little bit because it's a little lengthy. So it starts out, it says, "And unto Moses he said," meaning God, "Come up unto the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadav and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship me from afar. And Moses alone shall come near unto the Lord, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him." In other words, Moses will eventually go up alone. "And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice and said, All the words which the Lord had spoken we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the mount, 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel." Now the word Lord is mentioned there 4 or 5 times, and in each of those times it is the 4-letter name of God, the Yud He Vav He, the unpronounceable name of God, the Tetragrammaton. So now I am jumping to verse 9. I'm picking up in verse 9. Just skipped about 4 or 5 verses. It says, "Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadav and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel." So we've got 70. Moses is 1. Aaron is 2. Nadav and Abihu. 1, 2, 3. 74 people. "And they saw the God of Israel." The Hebrew there is Elohei Yisrael. If you were to do a translation of Elohei as opposed to Elohim, it will come up as sometimes as a divine. So it's saying, and they saw the divine one of Israel, or the Holy One of Israel. "And there was under his feet," this is under God's feet, I guess he's got feet, "like a paved work of sapphire stone, and the like of the very heaven for clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand, and they beheld God, and did eat and drink." Now in that verse, beheld God, it's Elohim, the name that we know, as the many names that we know, but that one name, Elohim. So why is it saying he laid not his hand? Because they knew that if they saw God face to face, they would die. But that is in his full glory. And obviously at this stage, although it wasn't in his full glory, it was close. And I want to read that again because it says, They saw God, the God of Israel, the Holy One of Israel, and there was under his feet. So this representation of God was as a person, because he had feet. I want to just emphasize that. And his feet, and under his feet, the like of a paved work of sapphire stone, and the like of the very heaven for clearness. Verse 12, and the Lord said to Moses, now it switches to the Lord, the Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. And the Lord said to Moses, come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone, and the law, and the commandment which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and Joshua his ministers and Moses went up into the mountain of God. And that, of course, is where it is depicted in the movie where he's receiving the Ten Commandments. But what I just read to you is what preceded that from the book of Exodus. There's an interesting commentary on that verse that I want to read to you. One of the commentators says, the 70 elders who were representatives of the whole congregation of Israel were chosen to witness the manifestation of God, that they might be satisfied of the truth of the revelation which he had made of himself and of his will. And on this occasion it was necessary that the people also should be favored with a sight of the glory of God. Thus the certainty of the revelation was established by many witnesses, and by those especially of the most competent kind. This is a short description, very powerful appearance of God, the Holy One of Israel, Elohim, in the form of a man once again, showing up as the Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh to 74 people who saw him face to face just prior to Moses receiving the Ten Commandments. I'll leave you with that. Have a great day. See you next time.